Hello Lone Wolves, this is the third and last part of the talk I had with Umer XT. We're talking about a few topics like femininity, something called FGTOW, which is an invention of Umer, and we will talk about what it means. Anyway, enjoy.
You have seen mostly around you broken families, single mothers or single parents,
absolutely.
and people breaking up, never staying together for long.
Well, that's my biggest fear, because just to be honest, I came from a broken home myself, which means that I don't really have had a good example. Well, the last person, for example, my ex-girlfriends, all came from broken homes. Seems like we attract each other, and so I considered, of course, the idea. I played with the idea of maybe I will have a kid with her, or maybe with her, or maybe with her.
No, but see, I also come from a kind of a broken home because my parents separated when I was around 32 or something.
Okay.
And it was so traumatic, Wolf.
Yeah.
I was 32. I was at the pinnacle of my career as a doctor. I had the best job in the country, in the world that I could have. Yeah. And when they separated, devastated me, destroyed me. I almost shot myself.
Damn, and you were
so if you think
32. I was 32. Almost for me.
I was 32.
Hard to imagine. No disrespect.
Yes.
Because my parents divorced when I was still a baby, and I think I've experienced 3 divorces in my life afterwards. So it's more like a normal thing for me. But that also means that I got that's what I said before. In a way, I've got red-pilled at a very young age. Okay, this is the dark side. And I've seen it happening before my eyes many times. So you can say, well, that's a good thing. Well, maybe you are better prepared for the future and the bad things to happen, which maybe to some extent is true. I'm absolutely the opposite of being naive in regards to this. But it also, I don't have any good examples. And
that's the problem.
And B, I've lost faith almost entirely in, the family unit, if I can call it that.
Because when my parents separated, even after that, my father never failed in his responsibility in being there for me. Mm-hmm. Although I was an adult grown up, oh man, he was amazing. And same with my mother, they hated each other like anything. But still, my mother made things very, very hellish for all of us. That is the reason he eventually left. And even then, he continued to look after her in every possible way.
Wow.
So, yeah, absolutely, man. And he would say, and he was there for me as well. So I have seen a man in my life care for his wife, which is my mother. And I have seen a man, my father, care and be there for his own son, which is me and my brother, and the daughter, which is my sister. Mm. So I have not just many examples of that, because same thing is happening all around me in the culture, in the society. But the problem with the Western culture is because you've never seen that. People have never, not only you, most people have not seen that happen. They have actually forgotten what actually it is meant to be. Does it make sense?
Yes, it makes sense. I haven't forgotten, I had one example, but just from a distance, is my grandparents.
Yes.
My grandparents stayed together. My grandparents from my mother's side died, but father's side still alive. Actually, I'm doing a video tomorrow. The next installment of the Taoism series will be a little bit poetic, dramatic piece about that, how things have changed. For example, that my grandmother was a very strong woman. She was definitely the dominant type within the home, yeah. But the thing is, my grandfather at one point got sick. He got Parkinson's disease. You must be familiar with Parkinson's disease, right? which is in his case was very debilitating. He couldn't work anymore. He barely couldn't speak anymore at some point. Just sitting there like I don't know him any other way, because when he had that, I was born. I already had that. The thing is, it took a while before he passed away, and so there was, I think, a few decades before the point he got sick, until he passed away. And my grandmother stayed until the end, of course, and she passed away like 5 years ago herself. But it didn't even cross her mind to leave him because of the sole fact that he was sick, because he was really less than a child in regards to functionality, because even children could do more things than he could. So today's women, there are exceptions, of course, but
they have no honor, man. They have no sense of covenant and keeping the promise.
I think after a month they start to realize, well, this is not going to be fun the rest of my life, and I'm going to leave my sick man behind. I think 99% of the women will do it.
Yeah,
that's the difference.
And see how they perceive them. Yeah, sorry, go on, XT, please go on.
Well, no, actually, I just wanted to kind of throw a chip in the wood pile here on that one, because, wow, I tell you, I've had some interesting things come about full circle. But I was coming back to Houston. I'll keep the story short. I was staying. The very first girl I ever had feelings for put me up in her house here. Mm-hmm. Okay. She herself, her life, how it developed, and she's been married like 5 times. This was the girl I used to, was my idea. This was back when I was pure as the driven snow, before I was indoctrinated into the sexual marketplace. And it changed me, as it always does, all of us, everyone. So, back when love was more pure, right? When you're just a teenager but it's also very inexperienced. But anyway, that's kind of besides the point. That's not what this is about. This has to do with the sickness thing. And so I got to know, now I had caught up with her back in 2007 where she seduced me, even though she has a boyfriend. So she clearly, even though she proclaims, and she's an elder in her church. Oh. Okay. In the Presbyterian church. She goes to church. She's regularly involved in the church. And yet, this is the behavior she demonstrates in her personal life. Okay. Yeah. Now, her boyfriend, it doesn't even matter. I can use his real. I've never met the guy. So I was staying at her house for like 3 months. Now I'm obviously in my own place now, which I appreciated. She basically was like a friend. And this time around, she's done a lot of things for me, surprising stuff, like the sort of stuff that like you'd expect your mate to do for you. Mm-hmm. She did for me without asking me. She just did because she wanted to give me just to give me a chance to break back into my own hometown. Anyway, my point is I get to know her son and daughter. Now, her son I've spent a lot of time with, and he told me the story. This nebulous boyfriend of hers, this much older man that she sees, and she's been seeing even back when she seduced me in 2007. Okay. So I'm like, okay, he never came around, never met him, so she deliberately kept us apart. Interesting. Yeah. And this is just my observation. But what really struck me is that she's a single mother, basically has been for a long time. She's really doing a great disservice to her 22-year-old son, who's currently kind of going to college one class at a time and plays video games all the rest of the time. And she even said, oh, yeah, he needs a male presence. I'm like, well, but I no recrimination. I didn't, sit there and tell her, well, here's why you're fucking up. I was kind of in no position to do that. But so he and I had a heart-to-heart. He said, yeah, my mother kind of did something to me recently about her boyfriend, Frank. I said, well, what is that, Curtis? His name was Curtis. Mm-hmm. And he says, well, it was kind of strange. She goes, he was real sick, and so she asked me, well, do you think I should leave him? I'm like, oh my God, are you serious? Sure. She put that on her son.
She asked the son, like, should I?
She asked the son, should I leave Frank because basically it wasn't fun anymore.
Yeah, well, that's what it's all
He
about.
was said,
And then also,
yeah.
like, asking that your son, it means that you seek for, like, guidance from your son.
Yeah,
No,
from
she'll blame him later on if something
Oh,
goes wrong.
also.
She'll blame her son.
My God,
he
yeah.
was very
Oh,
confused by
jeez.
this.
You said.
Well,
Yeah.
Jesus, man.
but here's the thing. I asked
It's
him,
falsification
how
of
did
the
you
son.
respond?
Yeah, sorry.
Well, it is. But let me
Yeah.
finish it. I'm almost
Yeah.
done. So I said, so what did you tell her? You know, I was curious. You know, he's actually not a bad kid. He said, I think you should stick by your man. And all I could say is, that's a damn good answer.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Damn good
Yes.
answer.
Yes.
Yep.
So, you know, so yeah.
Oh.
So yeah.
Yeah. I told you, I said this earlier on. It's men who talk about honor and keeping the covenant and promises. Women don't have that sense,
No.
generally speaking.
They are like, what do you say? Emotional beings, and not. Yeah.
And that is their primary frame of reference and thinking. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, but never ask them to smile, because they'll Captain Marvel your ass.
What?
Sorry. Oh, that stupid scene in Captain Marvel. You know, basically, it's a feminist movie, and I'm really disappointed in the MCU, and I won't get into all that, but it's like, really, and they did that same thing in the Gillette ad, where the guy at a pool, he says, "Why don't you smile?" And somehow that is somehow an insult to say, "Hey, you miserable bitch, why don't you smile once in a while?" So,
Yeah. That's how they interpret it, and it's because it's true.
pretty much.
But
Well, it is true. It's like, how dare you tell me to feel good? I decide when I want to feel good. I'm a strong, independent woman. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, there's nothing malicious. Like, I've had women say to me, like, if maybe I'm thinking too hard or something, and oh, it's like, why don't you smile more? You know, I don't take offense to that. Actually, I'm uplifted. It means that somebody took notice of me and thought, hey, I want to try to uplift his spirits a bit. That's a beautiful thing.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Maybe,
when a man does it to a woman,
women
somehow
feel believe they are objectified. Something like that. That's the feminist thought behind it, I think. Like, women should be these smiling, man-pleasing creatures.
well, everything that, they've taken it to all new stupid levels.
Yeah.
But, well, like you actually, I've seen adverts, I've seen, you know, talks about basically the whole being, like, they shame women for being housewives, for choosing to be housewives.
That's
They
disturbing.
lampoon them. It is disturbing, but it's also a sign of the degradation of society from a family structure point of view, and they're not satisfied with. They want its utter eradication.
Well, that's what
yeah.
I actually wrote in my book. Like, feminism is more like the celebration of masculinity within women, and
It is.
what they basically do is shaming women for feminine traits, and they look down on these typical feminine like activities. They look down on it, and they shame women for doing them. Simple things like doing the household or staying at home taking care of the kids. That's
Well, here's the
that's
thought.
lesser. That's seen as lesser.
Yeah, it is. Well, that from their messed up ideology.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Here's the thought. As opposed to, we all know we don't like feminist ideology or let's say explosive, toxic. Well, yeah, it is basically toxic femininity. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as much as they like to bandy about toxic masculinity, well, we can conversely say, well, you know, go look in the mirror. Here's a thought: contrasting these two things, actually start to show and to celebrate women who choose to be mothers and to care, or even better yet, even couples that decide to stay together, and to show why they are they should be the trendsetters.
Mm-hmm.
not these, dye job, like old, like what's her name, the chick they always use, and it's basically the poster girl for feminism.
That's red-haired.
Big red, big red.
Yeah, yeah, the big red.
So
big red.
yeah, so every big red out there to basically show just how awful, contrast them to show why that works and why they fail. That's the pushback that needs to continue to happen. That's and again, like people always talk about how MRAs fail and all of that, and yeah, that may be true, but I still can't help but admire that they're trying. A lot of some of these MGTOW guys, like piss on MRAs. Some of them are a little bit more, let's say, a little bit more accepting of it. Again, opinions vary, but from my opinion, it's like at least they're trying to fight. Yeah, granted, it's an uphill battle, but at least they're having to go of it. At least they're brave enough to put themselves out there. Because trust me, that is not a comfortable place to be in society.
Sorry, XT, why are they pissing on MRAs? Like, why some of the MGTOWs are?
I really don't know why. Because they think it's futile. Because they think it's.
Oh man.
That these guys are one of the cons. Oh, they're trad cons. It's like, well, look, dumbass. It's like, okay, you can. And I think that some of these guys are talking from an inexperienced position. Like they have never experienced it. They don't have any, and I can understand that because they don't have any point of reference. So they just, in typical internet jargon speak, there's a very big propensity to label things without real context behind it, without really truly understanding it. It's more, and it's used often as an insult or a slur. So it's, and then again, to me, that's just yet more symptomatic of what's happening, of why, even though they say, oh, I'm a MGTOW or this and that, hey, you know what, there's a kind of a bit of a war, kind of conflict in the MGTOW sphere about, what is MGTOW, is it a movement, blah, blah, blah. And I keep going back to what I've always asserted. It's up to each of us to decide we're men going our own way, but what we decide to do with ourselves, that's very much up to each.
Yeah, and if you're more on the MRA side, it's okay, right?
Yeah,
no problem.
Of course it is. And why should it redefine you?
Maybe I think the criticism is on MRAs is that they want something that's already gone, that they cannot get back anymore. That they're more like to. Well, I think that's not.
See, Wolf. See, Wolf. My thing is, from what I see, first of all, I don't like getting labels. If at all I had to choose a label, well, you could say, oh, I'm MGTOW, but I'm more of instead of a man going his own way, I'm more of a father going his own way, FGTOW kind of, instead of
FGTOW. Never heard that.
But I don't.
Oh,
new term.
I like it.
New term.
Yeah,
you should start the first FGTOW channel, Umer.
Oh, well, officially, let's call this the opening of the term and establishment of a term FGTOW, the fathers going their own way, which is XT title. Also. XT, to put it, FGTOW. Let's let XT and Umer, and we are the official founders of the FGTOW, along with the Wolf as the
FGTOW
co-founding member.
Stands for victory.
Fathers going their own way. So that's a real thing, because whatever XT and I are doing, it's with the primary concern about our children. What I don't understand about MGTOW is, because I don't like this deep resentment hating women kind of attitude.
I don't like it either.
It's just not right. It's not balanced. It does not have sense of judgment and proportion. Okay, we have women all around us. They are half the population. My mother, your mother, or my sister, your sister, my daughter, your daughters, whoever has goddaughters, and being resentful generally against everybody is not going to help anybody. No. See, that's number one. So I don't like this demonizing women. I hate it as much as women demonizing all men. So there's no difference between these two, as far as I'm concerned. The other thing that I see is that some of the, as soon as this MGTOW community was founded and it started to develop, as happens with any other situation, there were people who said, oh, an opportunity to make money out of it. And they started becoming, making these groups, coaching and all that thing. And fine, whoever wants to have it, fantastic. But personally, I don't like, Yeah, what I find is, for example, there's this one guy, entrepreneurs in car. At one side, they are saying, "Oh, stay away from women," da 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 da, and then the other side, they're also here and there giving advice how to hook up with more women.
Oh,
So
Yeah,
that's like,
I'm not a
yeah,
big
there
fan
there
of
are a
him.
few of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
this. I mean, at one side you say, "Don't go near women, stay away from them. Women are this, laws are this bad, women are bad, laws are gynocentric," and then in the next video you make up, you churn out 3 videos 3 weeks later. You say, "Oh yeah, we are not saying don't go near women. You hook up women, PUA. This is how you get
About
more
which one
women.
are you
This is how you
talking?
find."
Is it?
Oh, I heard something of to that effect from. I was following up entrepreneurs in car. That's Richard Cooper, isn't it? So he made few videos that he made about laws which are against men, da da da, and then
Okay, yeah.
he's also giving advice somewhere with pheromone soap to attract women and how to get more women attracted to you. So like, which one is real you? I just was
Well,
confused.
they
Like,
know that a big portion of the MGTOW, well, the guys who call themselves MGTOW, the community, not the creators, they secretly actually want to have women, but they're just not so successful with
okay,
it, and they appeal to them,
yeah,
Well, and
yeah,
that's a good point. Yeah, entrepreneurs in cars. I know what you're talking about. And
yeah,
yeah,
and
you're
then they
yeah,
yeah, does that make sense, XT? And then there was the
it
other
does.
guy,
Yeah.
Yogi Obes,
Oh,
kind of
Yogi Oaks.
Oh
guy, like
yeah.
they were, yeah.
Yeah.
So he did a similar thing, and I said, "Geez, man, like that's like one day, like 1 week ago, they were saying stay away from women, and now they're saying, oh no, 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 we need to go on with." So it didn't make any sense to me. But there are some hardcore MGTOW as well who are pretty much matter of the fact, and they talk, straight up. And then there are people like Wolf is there. You are like, oh, you're not MGTOW, you're FGTOW officially from today onwards. But yeah, you are never resentful. Wolf is never resentful against all women, and that's the
No,
right way to go.
I can't be
Yeah,
because, and
can't
one of
be
those
right.
things.
Absolutely.
Well, you're talking about like these guys that are sort of, there is a spectrum, okay, and I agree with Terrence Popp on this and a few others who have mentioned this. That, talking about MGTOW, like where do you sit? Are you like full monk mode, or are you somewhere? Are you still hooking up occasionally? For me, I like my hookups are so rare and few and far between. I mean, I can have them if I
Yeah.
really focus on them, but I'm
If
not
I want,
focused on that.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
so,
absolutely.
but these guys are like pickup artists and all that. And that's okay. Here's the thing about that. Whether I disagree or agree, it doesn't even matter. One of the things that I try to infuse in my own content and when I'm really writing from my perspective. I think that's true of
Yeah,
any genuine content creator. Okay, and I try to make it as original to my own thinking as possible. Always, it's very important to me. But one of the things that I've put in a lot of my videos is is this simple phrase: "It's up to you."
absolutely.
The onus will always be whoever consumes my content, consumes Solitari's content, any content. What
Yeah.
you decide to do with that information is ultimately going to be up to you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Choice,
So I
absolutely.
have no control over it. Once the information's passed, it's done.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Take it, do with it
No,
what you will.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
it.
Mm-hmm.
So
could
yeah,
not agree more. Fully agree.
yeah.
It's called, in the religious language, in Islamic religious language, it's called the ijtihad. You
Hmm.
use your own reasoning to make a decision and make a choice. And it's up to each individual what they choose to follow.
Mm-hmm.
Your
Hmm.
opinion or
Mm-hmm.
Wolf's opinion or entrepreneurs in cars opinion or someone else.
Mm-hmm.
It's up to the individual. That's very, very well
Yeah,
said.
but we still see some kind of gang mentality going on sometimes, and some
Yeah,
That's all.
guys,
That's human
yeah.
nature.
screaming on the internet,
Yeah, that's human nature.
screaming on YouTube, of course, calling themselves MGTOW. Well, they are MGTOW because they're doing their own thing. I cannot deny that they are not, or that they are.
Yeah.
But they're doing also things like they call it dick policing, like calling other people, yeah, really calling other people out who claim, saying that they're a MGTOW, but still, for example, dating or having a girlfriend. That's what
I mean,
dick policing is.
yeah.
And I think by myself, why don't you mind your own business?
But
I mean,
yeah, exactly.
we're here
See,
to
my
share
point is, who
information,
the hell am
and
I? Yeah,
why the
Yeah.
hell am I going to tell that you're not a MGTOW if you're
absolutely.
sleeping? Oh, and that creator over there has a girlfriend. He's a simp. I mean, well, that's gang mentality. That's nothing but gang mentality. That's cultish. we shouldn't do that.
Who the hell am I?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, who the hell am I?
there was
See,
really there's been a riot going on
yeah,
last
I
weeks,
heard
last
about
months,
that in the
and I was actually thinking about just dropping the whole label because I don't want to be associated with a group that
man.
you know what they're doing. And on the other hand, I thought by myself, well, I can just for a great part like keep it because I want to give my own spin to the label, and I see that there's at least a group of guys that like what I do and like my series, for example, that has the stamp MGTOW on it, DAO of MGTOW, even in book form. So
you have your own
following. There's a following, there's an audience, so that's a reason why I don't drop it, but I'm really distancing myself from the whole gang mentality stuff. It's a disgrace. That's what I think of it. Even if that's their own way, well, we've all been like 10, 12 years old on the playground, I'm 35 right now. I'm what I'm saying? I'm not a child anymore. I'm not going to do this.
No,
that's very wise thing to do. Yeah.
But that is such. I think I was trying to say, yeah, it is very common for that to happen. And honestly, people are sort of co-opting. It's almost like they become the stewards of the label, like as though it carries some definition or manifesto behind it. It does not. Okay, and those who look, they're going to, if that's how they choose to engage the community, there's always going to be dickheads in the world. Okay, so let's just call it for what it is. There's always going to be dickheads.
Absolutely. And again, Wolf, it's natural. It's totally natural for any community of human beings, individuals. They will always divide themselves into different groups and gangs, and they will start fighting each other. And that's again another natural tendency and inclination of human beings to do. And especially when it involves money, which apparently MGTOW business does, because YouTube has demonetized, but they still get this personal coaching and Patreon payments. So there is money involved in it. So that's why they are so ferociously defensive of their, domains and all that.
Well, in regards to money, I think, money is a recurring topic in the MGTOW community. Like, the most easy way to shame another MGTOW content creator is calling him a shill, but he is only in it for the money. And I think I also receive like donations from time to time, and I charge for my book, for example, and
there's nothing wrong with it.
But since,
and if someone wants to give you a donation, what's wrong? If I want to give you a donation, there's nobody else's business.
That's true, but I just want to say that if you really want to make money, like making a living, I think there are only two guys who do that, and I think that's the big ones, Sandman and Third Flinging Monkey, because they have just huge followings. They receive a lot of donations. They have full of sponsorships. So they are really, I think that's true, and everyone knows it.
Good for them.
I think there's nothing wrong with that, because
man,
you know how much time and effort it takes to create videos.
Absolutely.
It's really
it does.
Absolutely.
But I think there are also like these POA infiltrants, and that's something else. They're just selling completely off-topic message, packaging like the POA message in MGTOW format. That's something else.
Yeah.
Parasitical, actually.
Yeah, I'll tell you something. See, we grossly underestimate the intelligence of the common people. Every common people, public is very, very smart. They will identify and recognize your content and its quality as compared to some other guy. You can fool some people for some time, but not all the people all the time. And time will sort everything out. All right, so don't worry about it. You do what you're doing. Absolutely. And see, don't be apologetic for expecting a monetary payment for the efforts that you've made. Okay, don't be
Well,
sheepish about it. You should be confident. You've worked for it. You've spent time creating quality content, and you've written a book. And why would you give it away freely? Why? I mean, if you did it, that's okay. But there's nothing wrong in you expecting for a payment for your efforts and time spent.
At the end of the day, I also have to pay my bills, and I'm willing to work for it. Yeah. But okay, if I cannot get any, like, okay, I almost don't make any money with my Solitary Wolf project, except for the book sales, but that's nothing that I can live off. Absolutely not. But anyway, how do we combine, for example, in this case, being MGTOW, going our own way, with our personal life in regards to, well, especially like the feminism part? It's so controversial to be like maybe a little bit anti-feminist, or at least being a critic of, for example, female nature. But on the other side, you also have a job. You work with females. You have female coworkers, female patients in your case. Do you ever experience some kind of tension? It's a question to both.
No, not at all. No, actually, do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
Tension with regards to what?
Working with female co-workers.
No.
Oh yeah, I mentioned that before.
No. I differently. Okay, we all like to. We're just criticizing certain aspects about society, about feminism, about female nature, stuff like that. We're doing it. We're coming together to do it. We have. I have a channel. You have a channel. At the same time, we're also participating in society. We have a job. We work with females and stuff like that. Do you experience a tension, like you're having this internet YouTube personality /life/ and also you stuff like that?
No, I see where you're coming from. That yes, actually, yes, I mean, without hesitation, absolutely. I've sort of touched a little bit on it in a couple of my videos, but I'll certainly elaborate a little bit more here and simply say that all this, one thing I do definitely do is I differentiate between the world of the sage, of the scholar, of the person seeking information and learning things, and then applying that in a real world context. Okay, those two can sometimes feel different, although the underpinnings are always there. I observe and I'm cautious, but I definitely find myself, and understandably so, very suspicious and very guarded around women, particularly in the workplace and in public spaces. Yeah. Now, in more relaxed settings, or if I happen to know the women, I have many female friends. Okay, and in some cases, I can even speak a little more openly about things and even express my opinion of feminism. And usually it goes fine, and some of them will agree. Yeah. Okay, and some of them will actually add their own supporting statements to it. But yes, I think that's the quickest way I could explain it from me. But what about you, Umer?
Look, I don't know. I never feel any tension of any sort, like as in feminism trickling down. Although I'm not saying there is no subconscious element that trickles down because of the feminism, and I don't feel any tension at all. Like my work is all the time, there are female co-workers, heaps of them actually. In fact, most of them are females, but I've never had any problems in terms of feeling tension or anything. But see that environment, that context of being in a professional environment is because we don't exist in a vacuum. None of us does. And that is why I don't like, pretending as if I live in a vacuum, in a box, and there's a big dome of solitude that surrounds me and there's nobody else in that dome of solitude. That's not how life is. So I go to work, I interact with a lot of women, and I have a very good cordial relationships with all of them. But I guess the fact that I don't interact with females beyond a certain professional social level, and none of them I don't allow any of them to come close enough to be in my a bit closer social circle. So I don't have I never interact with them to a level that the feminism would actually affect me, because I'm so overwhelmed that I need to focus on my work and on my children that I simply, I am acting. If you saw me sitting in a cafeteria, if someone entered, I don't even lift my head up to look who's entered into the cafe.
Yeah.
So I'm just reading, what I'm saying, till someone comes and addresses me, hey, excuse me, can I? And all the people that I interact with restaurants, hotels, most of the staff is female. So I always behave with them just like I would behave with anybody, like with respect and cordially. I can tell you that I'm no longer extra nice. The fact being that I no longer hold the doors open for a woman who's coming from far away. No, I'm not going to do that, because you're strong. Deal with it. Sorry. You know what I'm saying? And that is what it is. And women get very upset with it. And especially my observation is, if you don't do these chivalrous action, they're very pissed off. But the problem is, I'm afraid that if I do that, they're perfectly capable of snapping back at me. Oh, I'm strong in woman. Don't you think I can open the door myself? So you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't do. So I do it for anyone who's old enough to be my mother. I do it for the ladies whom I know by face and they recognize me. But I don't do it for any stranger woman at all. Absolutely not. But that's how I've evolved, because I want to just stay focused on what I want to do, and that is it.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Dylan, so I don't feel we need to wrap this up because I have to go soon. Sorry.
Yeah. It's been like 4 hours, so it's quite long.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah. Well, I knew it would be.
Yeah.
So, yeah.